some of the reasons that some folks just don't have a great perception of HR is because it's a traditional HR setup. They're doing core HR functionality. A lot of it is to play defense for the
Yeah.
organization.
Yep.
And so there's that persona. There's another one that says, look, I came into HR because I want to help people advance. I want to make sure people are getting a fair chance at opportunity. I want to make sure that they're developing themselves into areas and skills that they really are passionate about and are going to help them along. It's not that there's only two personas, but in both of those particular cases, they're coming at the AI piece with a particular lens. And for the folks that are more sort of traditional HR, they're compliance, legal, working with structured, data and things like that. I think you've got a lot of disruption coming in terms of what AI can almost
Ultimately
completely
do.
take off
Yeah.
your plate. And so you've got to start to think about what else, what are my transferable skills? Because, if AI can do half the tasks that are on my plate now or more, then, the writing's on the wall, right? Like it's only going to get more capable. These agents that my organization may implement are going to start to connect and talk to each other. And so I've got to really think about how I want to position myself either at this organization or elsewhere. And so what are my, upskilling and reskilling opportunities?
Options. Yeah, sure.
And then you've got the other persona that says, look, I really want to help people and, you know, I am providing this uh, this necessary human interaction. I'm building relationships, things like that. I hope you're not thinking that AI can do what I do. And these folks need to be careful as well, in my opinion. And I'd like to get yours because you've got to think about things not from your own perspective, or not just from your own perspective, but also from the candidate's perspective. Would a candidate rather be ghosted, or would they rather talk to an AI? It's
Yeah,
to me,
exactly.
like if we were talking about this a year from now, it would be like so obvious. Of course, I want to know. I want to be in the know about my own progress and in the early stages, like when recruiters do what they often call a recruiter phone screen, right? Like that's just that initial conversation to feel somebody out, describe the role, see if it's a fit, see if we even need to continue the conversation. As a candidate, you may not need to form a relationship with that first touch point,
No, of
right? Like
course not.
you may never talk to that person
And
ever
likely never
again.
will.
So I don't want people to get too complacent in the sense that like what I do is just irreplaceable value that I provide to the candidate and to the hiring process. I think you're putting yourself at a disadvantage and you're going to be caught flat-footed as this technology advances.
But you spoke about a couple of things. One is sort of like the the kind of typical persona in the sort of HR profession, and I say typical. It is an extraordinarily deeply regulated aspect of the business, right? By all sorts of legislation, and as a result of that, these roles basically have kind of taken on very much a heavy administration, compliance, and governance kind of angle to them, and have attracted a lot of people, right, who are particularly good at that, who really enjoy doing that kind of work, which is great. They tend, though, not to be extraordinary risk takers by any stretch. In fact, they're kind of always ever kind of looking to remediate risk and kind of bring it down and document it and say, right, this is how we've got that locked in. That being the case, when they look at something like AI with all the hype, and all the kind of positive and negative talk about it, and the negative stuff is just as loud as the positive stuff. It's going to take over the world. The military is going to use it. It's all going to go haywire, and before you know, we're going to get chased by robots down the street, and all sorts of dystopian notions. Or it could be a lot more subtle than that. Having said that, oh my God, the promise of it in terms of kind of creating some level of super intelligence and actually can like develop a virus vaccine cures that kills all viruses, as an example. I've been just inundated with all the particular use cases out there for this. It falls on deaf ears though. For folks who have been trying to protect the organization, to your point, playing defense, and kind of making sure no baddies, kind of get through their hopefully impenetrable wall. And AI is one of those things, right? If you don't use it right, information can go missing. If you don't apply it properly, the bad information suddenly gets amplified and communicated. So it just feels like another layer of difficulty. But in truth, very quickly this year, we are going way beyond ask AI a bunch of questions about it and get some good answers. There is going to be this huge influx of things called agents, basically, which are actually capable of performing tasks that you aim it to. So you can actually create like HR agents, as an example, through sort of a bot kind of modality, and then have that thing just exist on every form of communication that your company uses it. So it's like HR on tap 24/7, 365. You ask it, this thing knows everything because you've uploaded all that information, structured and unstructured, into it. And it suddenly takes out the bottom two layers of HR help desk work that you basically have been a slave to all this time. You can always have a human in the loop, but these are remarkable, right? AI agents. You can also then program them to integrate with all your HR tools, right? And potentially with finance and whatever it is you want to connect them to, and give it the capacity to actually perform transactions. Again, without anybody having to do it. And so there's a lot that can be done, and it gets you out of the business of the base stuff so you can then start to focus on the truly strategic stuff like we were talking about in terms of creating a skills-based organization and all of the incumbent insights that might give you. So that's the direction things are going. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about. And I think just for the folks in HR, to your point, whether it's an assistant that takes that level one support kind of stuff off your plate, and these are, even that is not like the conversational AI and the chatbots we had,
No.
7, 8 years ago, even. And then moving up the sort of AI maturity scale a little bit, these agents that are actually executing tasks on your behalf. I guess the message here is don't be complacent in what you're doing. Don't assume that your quote unquote human touch has the longevity that you might think, and just pay attention to what's going on around you, and don't be caught flat-footed, because we're talking about your livelihood and your career.